haulers, cut it up, load it up, haul it off. It's scrap metal. Got to see it. Didn't get to see firsthand, but see the last of one of the sections, and it's basically a large pile of rubble on that one section of the facility, and it'll probably take them a couple of months to cut up that one section and become one of the other sections, and that's not all. They got all kinds of business to tear down out there. I think they said 5 years total. They've been there for about a year and a couple of months now. So, still a lot more traveling back and forth probably in my future to tinker on their old Komatsus. But anyway, kind of wanted to talk about the feel of the country this morning. What I see, what I feel like, the surrounding consensus is on what's going on. Like some of you know, I don't keep up with mainstream news that much. For several years now, I've been in what you would call the alternative space. If there's a news story that I find interesting, I actually try to go to the source and read about what is actually going on. But what I hear out in the world right now, a lot of defeatist language, a lot of, and I agree with a lot of it, that the world is crazy right now, that, our country's upside down, and we got old Sleepy Joe up there making all these executive decisions, throwing out all these mandates, and that's what I got to talk to you about, because old Sleepy Joe ain't running shit, guys. If y'all hadn't figured that out by now, I don't know when you're gonna see it, but Sleepy Joe's just the front man for whatever billionaires he's working for. I don't claim to know exactly who the heck makes the decisions, but Sleepy Joe ain't capable of completing his own sentences, let alone coming up with a mandate to implement on people. It might be the old, what's her name, Horsey that he chose for VP. She might be trying to make some of those decisions and telling him what to say, but it ain't coming from old Joe. I know they got him jacked up on some good stuff to make him seem vibrant whenever he goes out in front of the cameras, but Sleepy Joe ain't quite got it all together. So all these things that are going on, all these liberties that are being taken away, that have been being taken away, honestly, your whole life they've been taking them away from you, and you vote for them to take them away. That's why I've never understood the whole voting for one party or the other whenever. And then I would have people try to tell me throughout my life that it's the lesser of two evils, and I would always say, well, evil is evil. Whenever we would talk about picking which candidate, which side was better during the presidential election or something like that, and say, well, you got to pick one or the other. You got to do your duty to vote. And in my honest opinion, my choice not to vote is one of the most powerful votes that there is. And I think that's something that a lot of people need to realize. And I think that we should talk about solutions rather than continue to harp on all the issues that we face every day. Because we all know that there's issues out there. And we all know that it seems to be getting worse rather than better. So what do we do about that? How do we move forward from here? After everything that we've allowed to happen, how do we take the next step forward? And I think the main thing we can do is educate. I've said it before, if you're my age, you have kids, come off a little derogatory. You might think I'm sounding crazy for influencing young minds, but that's what we're supposed to do as parents. We're supposed to give the next generation their values and what their moral standing should be, not the public education system. They're not supposed to set that up for you. You're supposed to do that for yourself. So I think it really starts with education, guys. And what would we need to educate the average person on in order to take down, to show such a beast of a system as our federal government, what we really mean when we say we the people control you? So how can we even start to make a difference? You know, obviously voting is not getting you anywhere, guys. If y'all hadn't figured it out, voting is not effective anymore. So what do we do? If we need to educate on how to move forward, how to get out of all these trillions of dollars of debt that they've printed, how do we get from A to B? I'm not saying A to Z. That's what we got to realize first in our education is these are generational problems that we face right now. And it's not going to happen overnight. We're not going to automatically wake up tomorrow and all of our problems go away because we decided today what our plan of action is. No, we have to build the system, build the foundation for the next generation to start working on top of. We have to bring those values back and set the values as the foundation of this country rather than allow the banking greed that has taken over this country to continue to run our country for us. So if we need to start on education, first patience, but if we need to educate, in my honest opinion, the most powerful thing we can use for education is teach your kids what fiat currency is, how our dollar became what it is today, because it's not backed by gold and silver. If you still believe in that fucking fairy tale, I don't know, I'm not talking to you, but if you haven't told your kid, or yourself in general first, you may have to look up what fiat currency means and how we technically have a petrodollar now, and how about whenever Woodrow Wilson, I think 1913 or 18, whenever Woodrow Wilson allowed the Federal Reserve, which is a private entity, to become basically the printing press for the United States government treasury. Whenever that little band of brothers got together and started devaluing our dollar, how about you take the path and learn what happened to our dollar? Learn whenever FDR started taking away the gold backing and the silver backing during the Depression. Start teaching yourself what our US dollar is. And it's not anything basically but backed by a bunch of debt. There's no true value in that dollar, because first off, if we want to talk about currency, we want to talk about money, we needed to define that for ourselves and understand what money really is. So money is, all it is a representation of a value for value exchange between individuals. You know, we can make money out of whatever we want. All we have to do during the exchange of value is agree upon whatever that money is, whether it's chickens for ducks or whether it's shiny rocks for, you know, a new car. As long as the two parties in that interaction agree that the exchange of value is equal, then that's considered money. Well, whenever we started allowing a centralized government, you know, I hear some really smart people talking about the homeless problem the other day, and they say that we have to centralize control over this problem. It can't be decentralized. Well, I think actually you need to step the hell out of the way. The centralized party needs to step the hell out of the way and allow the freedom and liberty that made this country what it is start to bloom again. Because with regulation on everything, we've allowed them to make it basically illegal to barter between individuals. But in this day and age, there's so many of us and there's so little of them, they can't enforce all those laws on us, guys. We have the upper hand as in numbers, and there are strength in numbers, and then knowledge is power. So I talk a lot about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. So for the first time since old Woodrow started to value in our dollar, started taking away the actual reserve currency, the gold and silver that made those little paper notes worth something, since that time, for the first time, we have the ability to protect our wealth without anybody knowing about it. Because back then, whenever you put your money in a bank, you could take them gold and silver and they would gladly hold it for you and give you those paper dollars back. And then you got paid good interest to keep your money there because they wanted that reserve currency, because they knew the power of that reserve currency. But once they started taking that away, the value of that little magical piece of paper, we just allowed them to take away the power of the dollar. Because we all know that if you got enough of the wealth in the world, it does come with power. But with Bitcoin, with cryptocurrency, we have the ability to protect that wealth again. We have the ability to keep that wealth outside of the banking system. That's what I was going to try to get to, was the fact that whenever you could take your gold and silver to the banks and have them hold it there, but you could also keep that gold and silver or some portion of it in a private location that you and maybe only one or two other people that you trusted very strongly knew what the location and how to access that gold or silver. So if for some reason something happened and you couldn't get your money out of the bank, because that does happen more often than what you think in history, it's happened a lot of times. The banks have just taken people's money and made it go away. Especially during collapse times, which, if you hadn't figured it out, we're kind of on a downhill slide into a lot of bad things. So you can protect some of your wealth. Well, we can do that now with cryptocurrency, especially with Bitcoin. And that's what I want to focus on. Anybody that's new, that's still skeptical of cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, in my opinion, will be the reserve currency of the future. For the first time, I listened to a really great episode of Lex Friedman's podcast yesterday with Alex. His last name escapes me, but it's probably the most recent episode on his feed. But he was a human rights activist, and he was talking about the power of Bitcoin and all these authoritarian countries, like China and some of the other communist-run countries. Maybe Russia's not technically communist anymore, but basically they're authoritarian. All these authoritarian governments, the power that the average person, he's talking about refugees from Syria and whatnot, all those places where people were escaping, they can't take anything with them. But if they know about cryptocurrency, he's seen several of them. The percentages are still very small, but he has seen several of them already successfully put their wealth into Bitcoin and escape the bad situation. And then they're able to get into a place like America. I know some of us don't agree with immigration, but they're here, they come to another country, they're able to get a job and start making more money. They put more money into that cryptocurrency and they send it back into that hostile country to help rescue more people. That's the power of cryptocurrency, because it is truly, it's inconspicuous. You know, you don't have, nobody has to know that how much cryptocurrency you have, and Bitcoin is literally accepted anywhere in the world now. You see the little signs at the curb stores, buy Bitcoin here. It's not going anywhere, it's here to stay. So I beg you to start looking into Bitcoin in general, but there's some other good cryptocurrencies out there, but start with Bitcoin, because since its existence, there's not been a year-over-year average that the percentage on Bitcoin has not went up. I think a minimum of like 15%. So automatically, if you start putting, people get scared of Bitcoin because it's $62,000 this morning for one Bitcoin, but you don't have to buy a whole Bitcoin. You can buy a little bitty fragment, a dollar cost average every week into Bitcoin. So you just start buying as much as you can when you can buy it, and I guarantee you, if you mark the date, a year from that date, you'll see how much of a gain you've got on that investment in your life, in your wealth, in your long-term future. Because, like I said, this is a multi-generational fix. This doesn't happen overnight, and it probably won't completely happen in my lifetime. But by God, I am so damn tired of hearing everybody bitch and moan about all the problems, but nobody wants to talk about solutions. You know, I hear bitching and moaning on Facebook. I comment on some of those things to see, you know, okay, they're bringing up the problem. Let's see if they're willing to talk about solutions. And it's just poof, nobody wants to talk about the damn solutions. So we just keep pointing fucking fingers at one another, and we'll get somewhere, hopefully, guys. And we'll wait 4 more years, and we'll try to vote harder next time. Maybe we can fix something that we ain't been able to fix with that system for 40, 50 years now. Maybe we'll be able to do something different this time. No, it's time. You have to wake up. We have to fight this war. This is a war, and hopefully it doesn't have to get truly bloody. But this is how we fight it: with information, with knowledge, with community, standing up for what we believe in. Because, believe it or not, most of us kind of want the same things in life. There may be hot button topics that we disagree on, but that system that you try to participate in to try to be the good citizen that you're supposed to be, they're the ones that keep pushing them damn problems down our throats. Once you escape from that and start living your own life and what you can control in your life, you'll see the fact that just not listening to all the nonsense that they pump down your throat from the mainstream media, your quality of life automatically go up. But if we start educating our young right now, start educating ourselves on what the true meaning of money is and how we can take away their power to control the money with Bitcoin, with cryptocurrency, with gold and silver. If you want to put all your money in gold and silver, that's fine. I believe in diversification to protect my wealth. But anyways, that was a quick little episode. It's been a couple of weeks since I've made anything for the All Night Show. I hope y'all enjoyed it. We love y'all. We can do this, guys. We just got to believe in ourselves at first, and then we spread it to the next person, and the next person, and the next person. And before you know it, you're a part of this great awakening that's going on right now. There's millions of people standing up all around the world because we're all tired of this nonsense. Times have changed. It's time for us to open up our minds and figure out how to move forward and stop bitching about the problem. Love y'all guys. Take care.